So we are here in the car going to a very chosheba occasion, the bris of the grandson of Rabbi Ari Hoppenstein, originally from Johannesburg, now for the moment in Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh. And Rabbi Hoppenstein had the schus of learning at the Yeshiva Gedola in Johannesburg under the guidance of Rabbi Goldfein, Zechronin Livrocha, a Talmud Mubak of Rabbi Goldfein. What are your, first of all, a very big mazel tov on the occasion. Sach nachas.
Thanks.
Amen. And what? Just a brief question. What were your insight? What's your insight into the main contribution which Rabbi Goldfein made to the whole South African Jewish scene in terms of Torah?
In terms of Torah, so his plan was to start an institution, a yeshiva, that would produce Rabbonim and Mechanchim, Torah teachers, for the whole of South Africa, for all the Jewish communities and all the Jewish schools, and not only for South Africa did he, but also the rabbis that could go to the rest of the world as well. And he achieved this wonderful goal, producing many Rabbonim and Torah educators.
Well, today we have the chief rabbi of South Africa. I mean, I think his biggest critique was the fact that we had all these Rabbonim who were really imported into South Africa as chief rabbis, and he wanted to see local talent. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he wanted to see local talent be in the position of leadership for South African Jewry. I mean, and we have Rabbi, the chief rabbi.
Yes.
Which you learnt with.
He learnt at our yeshivas. He learnt at the same time when I was learning. It came a few years after I started at the yeshiva, and he got a law degree at the same time. But attending the yeshiva full time, morning, afternoon, at night, he still managed to do his degree. And he's become not only a leader of South African Jewry but also of world Jewry, introducing various projects, Generation Sinai, the project of the Shabbos project around the world, which has taken off around the world.
I heard that had huge ramifications. I still get comments today in Jerusalem about the impact that project had in New York and from the four corners of the world. I mean, any sort of feedback, or maybe you can tell me a little bit about how it manifested itself in Johannesburg, what sort of results you saw there. I mean, the whole purpose was to have Jews, secular Jews that never kept Shabbos before, having them keep Shabbos for just one Shabbos, right? If that's correct.
Yes. It had a tremendous impact, first of all, on South African Jewry, where the project started off, and many people who do not keep Shabbos, they kept this particular Shabbos, a large percentage of the Jewish population of South Africa, and some of them continued to keep Shabbos because of their wonderful experience of the Shabbos project. And then also the same story repeated itself around the world, in New York, South America, France, Britain, Australia, many countries around the world. And there's even a type of a website where one can see the results of this Shabbos project, and how enthusiastic many of the Jews around the world were about this particular project, and the interest that generated in Shabbos. And I'm sure many are keeping Shabbos that weren't keeping Shabbos before.
I mean, that's incredible. So someone who'd never had any connection with Shabbos in their lives, they had the opportunity of being able to live it I mean, how would someone who has never kept Shabbos, how would they know what to do?
Well, they printed, at least in Johannesburg, they printed booklets about the halachas of keeping Shabbos, I think on their website as well they explained how to keep Shabbos, and I think that was available to anyone around the world as well. All this information was available to everybody. So, and I'm sure other rabbis around the world also tried to educate the people in their particular towns and cities, and I think that was one of the great aspects of the Shabbos project was the halacha, the law aspect, that they managed to teach people many details and even certain intricate details about keeping Shabbos, not just the halacha, but also about the enjoyment, the oneg of Shabbos, the celebration of Shabbos, and I think that had a tremendous impact.
That's quite incredible. Now, Rabbi Goldfein had a certain particular style of learning. What? Maybe you can just tell us briefly what that style was all about.
A particular style of learning Rabbi Goldfein was focusing very much on the daf. In other words, the main emphasis of the yeshiva, or the main shir of the yeshiva, was to cover a good amount of Gemara every year in the shiur, approximately 30 to sometimes 40 daf of Gemara, and that's besides the Gemara that they would learn in Bekias, the Gemara the Bochrim would learn on their own in other chapters of the Gemara that they weren't doing in the main morning shiur, and his emphasis was mainly on the Pshat, mainly on the Gemara, the Rashi, and the Tosfot. Main emphasis to teach people how to learn the Pshat of the Gemara very, very well, and to see that when they left the yeshiva, they really knew how to analyze the Gemara properly, and to think for themselves, think of the Sforas behind the Gemaras. So when a person left the yeshiva, they'd have a good ability to come to the halacha from the Gemara to a large extent.
Right. So very interesting. Now, Rabbi Goldfein was a Talmud Mubak of Rabbi Gifter in Cleveland, and I think that the one thing that really stands out for me was his Midas Tovos, that he was a Baal Midas Tovos, and I think that infused itself in the yeshiva in many ways, and I saw that a lot of the Talmidim, the Bochrim and Avrechim, they had a very high level of integrity and respect for each other, which you don't often see. Any sort of comments about that?
Definitely a large emphasis was placed on derech eretz, midot, good character traits, which is an essential foundation for the learning of Torah. In fact, that if a person does not have these foundations, the Torah or the mitzvahs, a person will stop doing Torahs or mitzvahs if the basis is not strong. And we see this in Rav Chaim Vital, that the basis for learning, for Torah learning, for the basis for doing mitzvahs is what we call the mitzvahs of the Leiv, which is derech eretz and mirot tovot. Without that, it seems we won't have the power to do the mitzvahs.
Well, thank you, Rabbi Hoppenstein.
Pleasure.